According to the Federal Reserve, Texas lags in key areas when compared with other states and the nation as a whole. The Census Bureau reports that per pupil annual spending for public primary and secondary schools in Texas is 26% below the national average and 10th worst among all the states. Texas also ranks in the bottom 5 in the share of money for public schools that comes from state revenue versus local and federal. So how did we get here? That's the question I hope to help answer today by providing a short history of what has happened in school funding over the last 20 years. I don't have time to cover every detail, so I will present major milestones that have played a key role in the state of public education in Texas. Before we dive in, I want to explain a key term that you're going to hear a lot over the next few videos. The basic allotment. This is the amount set by the legislature to fund students in schools, pay for teachers, and operate all aspects of what takes place within a campus or school district. The higher the state sets the allotment, the more resources per student each district has to spend. Any local property taxes that come in above the basic allotment are sent back to the state in a process that is called recapture. This especially impacts districts like Austin that has high property values, but we'll dive into that further in another video. For now, just know that the basic allotment is the minimum amount every school district must spend per student. Okay, let's get to it. The year is 2006. I've just been elected to represent House District 48 and am sworn in ahead of a special session on school finance. As a former school board trustee, I understand how crucial this special session is. The courts had ruled that the legislature needed to address school finance. After hours of debate, I voted to make significant investments in public education. This in turn decreased the burden on local taxpayers by compressing school district tax rates by 1/3. The basic allotment is increased from $2,537 per pupil in 2005-06 to $3,218 by 2008-09. In today's dollars, this was a $23 billion investment for 2 years of school revenue. Then, during the 2009 session, we once again increased the basic allotment by almost 50% to $4,765 for the 2009-10 school year. That's over $7,000 in today's dollars. This was a good time for public education. Texas was finally on track and responding to our school district's growing needs. However, this was short-lived. When the 82nd legislature gavelled in January of 2011, we were facing a grim revenue forecast and severe current services crisis. I knew we would have to make some tough decisions, but I also knew we had more than enough in our state's rainy day fund that could help cover certain costs. That session, I offered an amendment to use rainy day funds to reduce the magnitude of school funding cuts. But this amendment was ultimately stripped from the final budget. In the end, the legislature chose to use the rainy day fund to close our general revenue shortfall for 2011, but cut public school funding by $5 billion for the 2012-2013 budget. Of that, $4 billion was cut from formula aid and $1 billion from grants. We also included provisions to abandon the target revenue system by 2018, meaning that the state would not be obligated to keep public school funding at the minimum levels that were adopted in 2006. This hit our public schools hard. Austin ISD had to close a $94 million, 12% of their budget, of shortfall. $37 million of this was attributed to the formula aid cuts made by the legislature. Ultimately, the Board of Trustees declared a state of financial exigency and was forced to eliminate 1,153 staff positions, or 9% of the total AISD employment, spend down fund balances, and implement other service cuts. Furthermore, the legislature's decision to abandon the minimum funding levels adopted in 2006 would ultimately cost AISD $145 million a year in lost state revenue by 2018. To complicate matters further, 2016 is when the state abandoned an arbitrary cap it had imposed since 2004 on the number of public school children receiving special education services, which was the right thing to do for students, but came with a cost. This cap had kept school districts from identifying students in need of special education services for more than a decade, and it was wrong. But after 2016, districts had to find a way to pay for special education with fewer dollars at their disposal. Some relief came in 2019 when Speaker Bonin, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Governor came together to increase the basic allotment for the first time in 4 years. House Bill 3 raised the basic allotment by 20% from $5,140 to $6,160, almost $8,000 in today's dollars. Sadly, it remained stagnant for 6 years, losing more than 20% in purchasing power and leaving schools to use temporary federal aid to address double-digit inflation and pandemic learning losses. We tried to increase funding again in 2023, but $4 billion was held hostage to voucher legislation and failed to pass. But as in 2021, new funding was provided to continue reducing school property tax rates and increasing homestead exemptions. Which brings us to last session, when the legislature made a very small $55 or 1% increase to the basic allotment in House Bill 2, choosing to send most of the new money in state aid through brand new allotments for teacher retention, support staff retention, and an allotment for basic costs. Combined, increases outside the basic allotment provide up to $770 a year in new revenue per student. But Austin ISD isn't eligible for all of the increased aid because we don't meet the requirements to qualify for the allotments. It was an $8 billion increase with 8 billion strings attached. As you can see, the past 20 years of public education funding in Texas have been anything but stable and sufficient. Furthermore, session after session, the legislature has added to the list of things we want our public schools to do and provide for students, though not ensuring the funding to meet those mandates, while also prioritizing other budget items over our schools, which has meant districts have had to do more with less. When considering the budget crisis your school district may be in, it is important to remember that any fault cannot solely be placed on your school board trustee. The state has had a role to play in this as well. Members of the legislature, regardless of party, always say that our budget is a reflection of our values. And I agree that it is. I only wish that we realized the value of our public education system and prioritized its needs over other projects. The fact is, our state's future will be a direct reflection of the quality of our public education system. We must make meaningful, lasting, and consistent investments in our public schools. We must do better by our students and prioritize their future and ours.